Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we will embark on a deeper exploration of our relationship with Jesus Christ, our Savior. Let's continue our journey and uncover more inspiring Bible verses together.
Every great story holds a mirror up to our own lives. It shows us the paths we can take, the choices we might face. The ancient book of 1 Kings is just such a story. It's a chronicle of power, of faith, and honestly, of the human heart. It tells us about the rise and fall of kings, but its lessons are not just for royalty, they are for all of us. This book is filled with grand moments of incredible faith, but it also contains quiet warnings, showing how even the wisest among us can lose their way. It asks us to consider what we truly value and where we place our ultimate trust. The journey through 1 Kings begins at a high point in Israel's history. King David, a man after God's own heart, has passed his crown to his son Solomon. The kingdom is strong, united, and at peace. There is this sense of great promise in the air, a feeling that something truly special is about to unfold. It is a time of incredible opportunity, a chance to build a nation that truly reflects the goodness and justice of God. This story is not just about historical events, it's a deep exploration of leadership, wisdom, and the consequences that follow the choices we make, both big and small. As we follow these leaders, we see their triumphs and their failures laid bare. We witness moments of profound connection with the divine, and we see the slow, sad drift away from it. The narrative doesn't shy away from the complexities of human nature. It shows that great wisdom and great folly can exist in the same person. The stories are dramatic and powerful, involving magnificent temples, epic showdowns between prophets and kings, and the quiet internal struggles that define a person's character. These are not just tales of a distant past, they are timeless lessons about the human condition. Ultimately, 1 Kings serves as both an inspiration and a warning. It inspires us to seek true wisdom, the kind that comes from a deep understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. It encourages us to build things that honor what is good and lasting. But it also warns us about the dangers of a divided heart, the subtle compromises that can lead us down a path we never intended to travel. It challenges us to look at our own lives and ask the hard questions: who or what sits on the throne of our heart? Are we living with clarity and purpose, or are we drifting without a clear direction? Early in his reign, the young King Solomon has a remarkable encounter with God. In a dream, God comes to him and says, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." This is an extraordinary offer, a blank check from the creator of the universe. Solomon could have asked for anything his heart desired. He could have requested immense riches to make his kingdom the wealthiest on earth. He could have asked for a long life to enjoy his power, or for the total defeat of all his enemies to ensure his security. These are the things that many leaders, then and now, would likely seek first. But Solomon's request reveals a depth of character that is truly stunning. He does not ask for personal gain or material wealth. Instead, he demonstrates humility. He acknowledges the immense responsibility he has inherited, feeling like a small child in charge of a great nation. He says to God, "Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people, and to distinguish between right and wrong." In the original language, this is a request for a listening heart. He wanted the wisdom to truly hear, to understand the needs of his people, and to make just decisions that would lead them well. This was a prayer not for himself but for others. God is incredibly pleased with Solomon's choice. He recognizes that Solomon did not ask for the selfish things that often consume human ambition. Because Solomon asked for wisdom to serve others, God not only grants his request, but also gives him the very things he did not ask for, both riches and honor, more than any other king of his time. This teaches us a profound lesson about the nature of true wisdom. It is not about being clever or accumulating knowledge for our own benefit. True wisdom is rooted in humility and a desire to serve a purpose greater than ourselves. It's about understanding what truly matters in life. The lesson from Solomon's wise request is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. We are all faced with choices about what we pursue in life. Do we chase after fame, wealth, and personal comfort above all else? Or do we, like Solomon, ask for a listening heart? Do we seek the wisdom to understand others, to act with compassion, and to make choices that benefit our families, our communities, and our world? Solomon's story reminds us that when we prioritize the right things like justice, understanding, and service, the other pieces of a fulfilling life often fall into place in ways we could never have planned. One of Solomon's greatest achievements was the construction of the temple in Jerusalem. This was the fulfillment of his father David's dream. It was a magnificent structure, built with the finest materials from across the known world, fragrant cedar from Lebanon, vast quantities of gold and silver, and intricate carvings made by the most skilled craftsmen. The project took 7 years to complete, and it stood as a stunning symbol of Israel's devotion to God. It was meant to be a central place of worship, a physical location where heaven and earth could meet, and where the people could feel the very presence of God among them. The dedication of the temple was a momentous occasion, a national celebration of faith and accomplishment. Solomon stands before all the people of Israel and offers a long, beautiful prayer. He recounts God's faithfulness and asks for his blessing upon the temple and the people. But it is in this moment of greatest triumph, standing before the physical masterpiece he has built, that Solomon expresses a truly profound and humble insight. He understands that the magnificent building, for all its glory, is ultimately just a building. He knows that the God he serves cannot be contained within its walls, no matter how grand they are. In his prayer, Solomon asks a powerful question that echoes through the ages. But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built? This is a stunning declaration of humility. At the very moment of dedicating his life's greatest work, Solomon acknowledges that God is infinitely greater than any human creation. He understands that God's presence is not limited to a single place. While the temple could serve as a focal point for worship, God's Spirit is everywhere, available to everyone no matter where they are. He is present in the grandest cathedral and in the quietest whisper of a prayer. This story teaches us an important lesson about faith and religion. It is easy for us to confuse our symbols of faith with the reality of God himself. We can become attached to our buildings, our rituals, or our traditions, and forget that these are meant to point us towards something much bigger. Solomon reminds us that God's presence is not confined to a church, a mosque, a synagogue, or a temple. He is with us in our homes, in nature, in our relationships, and in our hearts. The true temple is a life lived in awareness of this constant loving presence, a presence that can never be fully contained or controlled. The story of Solomon is a tale of two halves. The first half is a story of incredible wisdom, success, and faithfulness, but the second half serves as a tragic and powerful warning. The Bible tells us that as Solomon grew older, his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God as the heart of David his father had been. The very things God had given him, great wealth and political power, became the source of his downfall. To forge political alliances with neighboring nations, Solomon married many foreign women who brought their own gods and their own forms of worship into the kingdom of Israel. This was not a sudden turn. It was a slow fade, a gradual compromise. At first, Solomon simply allowed his wives to worship their gods. He built high places or altars for them to practice their religions. But over time, his tolerance turned into participation. The man who had once asked only for wisdom to serve the one true God began to follow other gods himself. His heart, once solely focused on God, became divided. His loyalties were split between his faith and his political ambitions, between the God of Israel and the gods of his many wives. This division slowly eroded the foundation of his character and his kingdom. The consequences of Solomon's divided heart were severe. God tells Solomon that because he has broken his covenant, the kingdom will be torn away from his family. The unified nation that his father David had built, and that he had strengthened, would be fractured. This was not a punishment born of anger, but the natural outcome of his choices. A kingdom, like a person, cannot serve two masters. A foundation that is cracked cannot support the weight of a great structure. Solomon's story is a heartbreaking illustration of how a life that starts with so much promise can end in spiritual and political ruin through a series of small, seemingly insignificant compromises. The warning from Solomon's later years is perhaps one of the most important in all of 1 Kings. It teaches us about the danger of a divided heart and the corrosive effect of compromise on our core beliefs. It is a reminder that the greatest threats to our integrity often do not come as a frontal assault, but as a slow, subtle drift. We are challenged to constantly examine our own hearts. Are our loyalties clear? Are we fully committed to the values we claim to hold? Or are we slowly compromising them for comfort, for acceptance, or for personal gain? Solomon's life warns us that even the wisest among us must guard our hearts above all else. After Solomon's death, the kingdom of Israel splits in two, just as God had warned. The book of 1 Kings then shifts its focus to the northern kingdom and introduces one of the most dynamic figures in the Bible, the prophet Elijah. This was a dark time for Israel. The king Ahab and his wife Jezebel had led the nation into widespread worship of a false god named Baal. The people were confused and spiritually lost. They tried to hedge their bets, attempting to worship both the Lord and Baal at the same time. They were caught in the middle, unwilling to make a clear choice about who they would serve. Into this spiritual fog steps Elijah with a message of stunning clarity. He gathers the people and the prophets of Baal on top of Mount Carmel for a dramatic confrontation. He looks out at the crowd of wavering, indecisive people and asks them a piercing question that cuts right to the heart of their problem. "How long will you waver between two opinions?" he thunders. "If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." He challenges them to stop living in the gray area. He demands that they make a choice, a clear and decisive commitment. The challenge is set. 2 altars are built, one for Baal and one for the Lord. The prophets of Baal dance and shout and plead for hours, begging their God to send fire from heaven to consume their sacrifice, but nothing happens. There is only silence. Then Elijah steps forward. He soaks his altar and the sacrifice with 12 large jars of water, making it seem impossible to burn. He then says a simple, quiet prayer to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. Instantly, fire flashes down from heaven, consuming the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and even the water in the trench. The people, seeing this undeniable display of power, fall on their faces and declare, "The Lord, He is God." Elijah's stand on Mount Carmel is a powerful call for decisive faith. It teaches us that a lukewarm, divided commitment is no commitment at all. In our own lives, we are often tempted to waver between two opinions. We might try to serve both our deepest values and our more selfish desires. We might want the comfort of faith without the challenge of true commitment. Elijah's challenge forces us to ask ourselves, what are the two opinions in my own life? Where am I trying to live in two different worlds? The story encourages us to choose with clarity and to live with a wholehearted devotion to what we know is true, good, and right. Now here are a few questions for reflection. If you could ask for one thing like Solomon, what would it be? Would it be for yourself or something that helps others? Solomon realized God was bigger than the temple. Where do you see or feel a divine presence in your everyday life, outside of any special building? Are there any small compromises in your life that might be slowly dividing your heart, or leading you away from your core values? And, like the people on Mount Carmel, we all face choices. What is one clear, positive choice you can make today to live more fully for what you believe in?
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.